Hi, this is Amy, a traveling broad, and I am going to be talking road trips with my friend JC of carcareiq.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Glad to be here. This is great.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you cover on your channel?
My channel is carcareiq.com. My goal is to help people to understand their vehicles better, help them to be able to talk to their mechanic intelligently, understand what their mechanics are talking about when they come up with a repair that needs to be done, and maybe even be able to do some small maintenance or repairs themselves.
So let's dive into road trips. I love taking road trips, but I always want to make sure that the car is safe. I went on a road trip a couple of years ago with my boyfriend, and the car seemed fine, and we ended up on the side of the road in town with a bad radiator that he had to fix on the fly, which he was able to do. Luckily, he's very handy like yourself. So how do we know if our car is suitable for a road trip?
If you are good with your regular maintenance, most of the time you're going to feel confident in the vehicle that you have. Maybe it's, you have your brakes checked, have your oil changed on a regular basis, have your fluids all checked and changed when manufacturer recommends them to be done. If you're doing all those regular maintenance type of things, you should be fine. If you haven't, you might want to say, I need to set up a checkup and have some of these things checked by my mechanic that I trust, so that you do have have more confidence. The one thing that I have to say about cars is they're mechanical things. They're always in a state of wearing out. City driving is worse on it. Long trips are actually easier on a vehicle, and catching up on your maintenance might be a good thing to do.
How do you decide if your car is too old to safely take on a trip and you should consider renting a car?
If you've been taking care of your vehicle, you should have a fairly good confidence level in how far you can go. Hey, I drive it around town. I drive it 60 to 100 miles to the next town to visit somebody, and I'm confident in that. And now I'm going to take a trip across the country. You're going to have to feel that out. Usually something that's got, I don't know if I can just say a mileage. I drive a Toyota. It's got 250,000 miles on it.
Oh, wow.
I'll get in that and I'll drive it across country. You've done all your maintenance. It's probably going to be fine. But as a mechanical vehicle, there's always a chance that something's going to happen. Do a good checklist. It's going to reduce the odds that you will have a major breakdown.
Right. Are there some things that I can do myself as a check before I go on a trip?
Sure. If you have some experience with checking things out, I have a basic number of things that you want to check yourself. Check your interior and exterior lights, check your wipers. You want to make sure that they're good if you're going into a rainy place. If it's in the wintertime, going into some place where it might snow a bunch, check your belts, check your hoses, check your tires. Make sure that you have plenty of tread for the conditions that you're going to be in. In the summertime, I always add, check the AC, because there's nothing more miserable than being on a road trip and the AC is not working right. You're worn out by the time you get to wherever you want to be.
So do you have any suggestions on what car-related items I should have with me at all times when I'm traveling, whether it's short trips or longer road trips?
Sure. If you have a roadside assistance membership, make sure you have your membership card with you. If you have a car manual for your car,
That's a good point. Yeah.
Basically, this is just your owner's manual. Most people have a GPS app on your phone. I recommend find one that you can use that will let you download maps that you can use offline, because I've been in places where GPS is spotty and phone goes south.
Oh, yeah.
It's always good to have a paper map as a backup. Phone charger. I like to keep a phone charger in my car at all times. And then before I go, I usually make sure that I have my vehicle is equipped with a working jack, a lug wrench, and a good spare tire with air in it.
That's a good point. A lot of times, a lot of cars come with those little donuts, and you're not supposed to drive long distances.
Yeah.
Or you find that your spare is the flat that you took off before, and then you're really in trouble.
Yeah, make sure you have air in the spare.
Very good point. Are there anything that we should take based on the time of year? So if it's colder weather and like an emergency road trip kind of thing versus summertime, what would be the differences and the additional items that you may want to add to your kit based on the time of year?
And having a gallon of water, you could use it to top off your coolant if you need to in the summertime. But in the wintertime, you don't want to put that in your car because it'll freeze like a block of ice. That's one thing I recommend not putting in your vehicle in the wintertime. I try to keep a protein bar in the wintertime, some candle, space blanket, poncho, kinds of things.
So one last question for you, JC, before we wrap this up. What do we do if our car still breaks down after all the precautions we take?
If you don't have some sort of roadside assistance membership, that would probably provide a little bit of a peace of mind for you if you don't feel mechanical and you're like, I really want to make sure that I have some sort of backup if something like this happens. Most of them have some sort of towing option, maybe a rental car option, and sometimes even your car insurance will have towing and rental. So you might want to check and see if your car insurance has a rental or towing on it, and it may be a couple dollars extra a month just to add that to your current car insurance. So you might check that out instead of going with maybe AAA or some other roadside assistance membership.
I think some credit cards may offer that as a benefit too, so that may be worth looking at the small print on your benefits. So did you have anything else you wanted to add before we wrap this up?
I can't think of anything right now other than the fact that, well, we'll put together that emergency kit checklist and add that in the comments below and have that for your group.
I'm looking forward to you using your tips.
Get out and get some miles on the car.
Yeah, I know my boyfriend can tell when I've been home too much. He'll be like, okay, we'll at least go on a day trip. Find somewhere you want to go. I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Like
Get me out of the house. Thanks so much again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.